What's going on, guys? This is Derek Ledwich from Strive Fitness Performance. Today's video, I'm going to go over macros. Mainly, do you actually have to track macros? Should you, and do you need to in order to get the results that you want? So basically, today's video, I'm going to go over pretty much what macros are, and because it is a buzzword, a lot of people are talking, generally talk about that. Just likewise, like keto, stuff like that, different types of diets. A lot of times macros get put into that of, I track macros, or if it fits your macros, stuff like that. And so we're going to go over a little bit about that. And then also, do you actually need to do that? Because a lot of times people sort of put themselves into that box, and if they try it and they fail, they think it's their fault. And so we're going to go over a little bit about that, about do you actually need to, as well as what they are with that. If you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to comment, give a like, and that way we can share it. That way Facebook shares the information that we're about to go over through more people. And if it's helpful, I always create these, and if you guys find it helpful or anything like that, feel free to comment and post a like so I can create more. So first off, macros. It goes around the macronutrients. This would be their protein, carbs, and fats. So a lot of times people just have no clue what they are. They were told to track it. They were told to do stuff, and they just have no knowledge over that. Basically, it makes up most of our food, and we use macros to track our food. Okay, because it involves most of the food, the calorie content in most of our food, as opposed to micronutrients, which is like, the vitamins, minerals, stuff like that. That is a small amount. So we track these macros to be able to see if we're actually in a calorie deficit. All right, and that's pretty much the basis of it. It is not a diet. It is a tool to track and make sure that we are actually in a deficit. And so there's different combinations for different people, but basically it's, calories equate your weight loss. The macros equate your body composition, what weight you lose. So we want to keep the muscle as well as lose fat. So it helps you with the body composition as opposed to just straight up weight. All right. So it's generally a better way to go about it. And it's more specific. And so we tend to track this. We may have heard of with, flexible dieting, if it fits your macros, stuff like that. And it just gives you a little bit more freedom because you know what's going on. And so you have, anytime I talk about any type of dieting or anything like that, it involves, awareness is the first part. You have to be aware of what's going on in order to create change. And macros, tracking calories, tracking macros, whatever it might be, that's usually the first step because it creates that awareness. And now we know, or at least have a good idea on what changes we need to make. All right. So that is the point of the macros, is it gives us a little bit of flexibility, but it creates that knowledge so that we can adjust and create a deficit, so we can create weight loss or fat loss, muscle building, whatever our goal might end up becoming. And so that is the baseline of what macros are. So now the next question is, do we actually need to track macros? And the answer is always, it depends. You don't need to do anything. If really what we end up doing is, it is the most accurate, but it is a tool. Anything that we do is a tool. Cardio is a tool. Plate method is a tool. Portions is a tool. If it creates that awareness and it creates a deficit, you're good. Now, if we have no, it is the most accurate. So if we have no, knowledge, or we're really, really consistent and we can't get results, generally as we go along, that's usually the best bet because it creates more awareness and you can get to the answer faster. But the question is always, do you actually need to? And the answer is no. Most of the time, again, it depends. A couple different scenarios is, what can you do? So maybe you have no idea what macros are. Me telling you to track macros, you wouldn't do it past about 2 weeks just because you're not ready for it. Think of it as, it is a tool. Think of it as learning a different language or learning a skill. You jumping right into it, you might not be able to do it. All right, there's different steps that you end up taking. Another example of that would be maybe you've tracked macros before and just the thought of it stresses you out. Probably not a good idea to do that. All right. And that's why coaching is not necessarily a tool to do that. For our coaching, we end up using that VCI method. We create that vision, we create core principles, and we create that imperfect action. And so we do this during our strategy sessions, and we create a foundation of where we are at and where do we want to go. More importantly, we create that awareness that very first day of what do we do well with. Maybe we have no idea what macros are, but we still need to track. Tracking is still something that always ends up happening. But maybe now all of a sudden it might be, you know what, we're just going to eat off of a food list. It's the only thing that we can have success with. We're going to do that. Awesome. We create those habits, the small little bit, and then we stack on top of that. Now maybe all of a sudden we're using a meal plan template. Okay. And we're only following that. We're following somewhat portions. We're using our hand. And then we go on from there, and then now all of a sudden it might be calories, and then it might be protein and calories. Then if we're ready to roll and get really specific, now all of a sudden it's full on macros. There's a whole bunch of different stuff. It really depends on the individual, where they are at and what their past experiences are. That's why, a true program that's designed around the individual is very, very much dependent on past experiences. It's not a calculation. That's why I don't give out macro calculations as a product. You can find all this information, all this knowledge online. You can put your information into a calculator and it gives you the macros and say good luck. But if you're not ready for it, or maybe you think that you're ready for it, but in reality it's like a massive stress case, then maybe we're not ready for it. There's different ways to get into a calorie deficit that's not putting you in that box. All right. And so that's what we end up doing in our hybrid model. For people here at Strive, as well as in other states or people that train at other gyms, we create that awareness around macros. Okay. Because that's usually the gold pedestal, the pedestal of everything, the gold standard. But we work around what can you do right now? Maybe we work our way up to counting macros if you've never done it before. Maybe all of a sudden you're stressed out about it and we work our way up to it because we want to. You don't necessarily need to. That's why the answer is always, it depends. All right. But you always have to look at some of that stuff. Don't put yourself into a box of you have to count macros. You have to do flexible dieting. You have to do keto. You have to do X, Y, Z. There's a whole bunch of different information out there. It all depends on what you fit into, what you're able to do, and what your past experiences are, and going forward, what you're able to do right now with success. All right. And so that's the most important thing. So don't put yourself into a box, but that answers what macros are and whether or not it's right for you. If you have any questions about whether or not you should be doing it, or, what action plan is going to be right for you to get to your goals, feel free to comment below and I'll end up messaging you a little bit. We can jump on a free strategy session and we can figure out whether or not A, we can help you, or B, if I can just give you that little bit of action plan and you start running with it. All right. I'll talk to you guys later.